All right, so I don't really have a very strong agenda today. I'm just in the middle of coming back from one conference and going to the next. Um, one of the things I do want to talk about is the release schedule. So I just updated this today, just now. So here's where we are here, right? We're just about ready to release 1.14.2. That should release at the end of this week, early next. We got a few more things that we want to go into there. Then I'll go over what's going to be in these in just a sec here. We'll have the final release of 1.10 at the end of September, so after the hug. Then we're going to have another release of HDF5 1.14 for the ECP project, because they're going to have their last packaging of E4S software suite. And so we'll get everything that we have in terms of bug fixes and stuff like that out in that release. That'll be at the end of October, because they're going to release E4S in November. And then at the end of November, we'll have the 1.12.3 release. Originally, this was much earlier. This is back over here. I'd love to get rid of this branch, but we just had other stuff come up, and this hasn't been a huge high priority. And now I have another vested interest in having this later, and I'll explain that in just one sec here. So if we look down here at the table of things that are going to be in the different releases, the CVE fixes here. So we have just a couple of outstanding fixes. You know, we have this HDF. Sorry, that button. Let's see, here's CV HDF5. So in here we get this list, right, where we've got all these files that were generously donated by SUSE, half of them about, the other half we had, but they maintained copies of stuff that are no longer available on, because they were in some guy's repo that got subsequently deleted. So anyway, so we have like 2 or 3 of these tests that still fail. And so I'm working to get those fixed this week so that we have 1.14.2 be a CVE free release. And then those will get pushed down so that 1.10 and 1.12 will be CVE free. So everything, so as we end these off, anybody wants to stay with 1.10 or 1.12 for whatever reason can at least enjoy knowing that they have a CVE free version of the library. And so I'm working on that. The 1.14.2, if I can't get it done, I do want to get 1.14.2 out so that we can get 1.14.2 into the next version of E4S. So it may be that 1.14.3 is the first 1.14 CVE free branch. So that's what we're really working on right now, along with a bunch of miscellaneous other stuff. Also, I didn't put it in this table here. Oh, I typoed this. This should be 1.14.3. We did make the changes for cross compiling. That H5 detect no longer exists in develop. I have not moved that to 1.14 yet. 1.14 is now completely in sync with develop, aside from version numbers and that one feature. And the reason for this is that the NAG Fortran compiler has problems with it. So and it looks like it's doing weird things with floating point exceptions, so that floating point exceptions just crash your program. So I have to figure out how we can work around this. That might take some work, and so I have to communicate with the NAG Fortran people. We'll see, but the cross compiling stuff may not show up until 1.14. I should make this bigger so you can see it. There you go. So I'm very excited to get that in there. I think that's a great improvement. I'm very happy that in develop, you can just build it without having to do all the cross compile stuff. That's great. I did move some of this stuff over. There's, at least in like the auto tools, there's cross compile defaults. So that might make it a little bit easier for some people. But the big thing of not having to do type guessing at compile time, that has not been moved yet, unfortunately. And then, yeah, VFD Swimmer, I keep kicking it down the road. I don't have, without resources, I can't push that forward. And we'll talk about that at the hug, right? Like if this is something that can it be realistically merged in before this? Probably not. I would assume that this is probably going to be something where it's going to wind up in 1.14.4. Although there's some stuff that's in here that I might try to drag over. Like John Mainzer improved the page buffering. So I was going to compare that and see if I could bring some pieces of that over to kind of get some pieces in there. Before we kind of put this on hold, I did try to drag as much as possible from the VFD Swimmer branch that made sense into develop. So yeah, So that's what I have in terms of releases for HDF5. For anybody who is interested in HDF4, we just did release the 4.2.16 patch release that fixed a problem with Java. So as well as a few other minor things. So that's for HDF View to work properly. So there'll be another release of HDF View. I don't have a nice graph like this for HDF View yet. I'm hoping to do that this week. And there'll be another release that comes along in another week or two of HDF View. That should probably have, that'll probably come after 1.14.2 and have 1.14.2 in it. So you have 1.14.2 and 4.2.16-2. And then, yeah, the next release of HDF4 will be next year. We don't have anything pressing for this. This may actually be HDF5 4.3. I talked about this at ESIP. I do want to change the public API so that define a public API so that we can make some changes under the hood that involve bad stuff. And I also want to remove the XDR dependency here. And so that I would just bump the version number to 4.3. And that is what I have for official announcement from the HDF group right now. Do we have any questions, comments, things we want to talk about? Oh yeah, we talked about the hug. Yeah, so the hug is coming up.
I shared the link. There's hdfgroup.org/hug/hug23. I'll put it in the description for the recording of this session. There's a link to register. The event is happening August 16th through 18th, so coming up really fast. It is an in-person event, but we also allow online attendance, and that's only, I think, $40 for regular working folks, and then the reduced rate of $20 for students for the online attendees. It's in Columbus, Ohio, so it should be accessible for lots of people. I'm working on publishing the agenda. I hope to get that online on Wednesday. We have 2 full days of sessions, 20-minute sessions from community members and some of the HDF group staff. And then on day 3, we'll have tutorials. So starting with intro to HDF5, advanced HDF5, cloud, and HPC sessions. So that will happen all day on Friday, the 18th. So it should be a great event. If you can make it, we'd love to have you, and you can still register, and the link will be in the comments. Anything else?
Yeah, please come. Whether virtual or in person, I think it'll be they're always very interesting. It's very interesting to see how people use HDF5.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. We've got some good opportunities for networking and talking, even like off the official schedule. Well, they're still official, but like we'll have a group dinner that's included in registration on the 16th. So there'll be lots of talking and fun there too, but networking for breakfast and lunchtime and breaks. So I think it'll be a really productive event.
Yeah, and if you're showing up, if you're going to be there in person and you have thoughts and feelings about HDF5 and how it could be improved and how it works well for you or does not work well, please track me down and talk to me. Like, I'm very interested in hearing about people's experiences, especially as we try to plan a roadmap for HDF5 for the next 25 years. Like, what are the things that we need to focus on the most? I really want to hear back from the community about what are the pain points of HDF5. Like, how can we make it work better for people? How can we make it more accessible? Things like that.
Yeah, it'll be a really good event for people who just want to talk and get some FaceTime with Dana and Garrett and anyone else involved. And there'll be quite a few active community members are attending as well. We already know. All right. Any questions for Dana or anyone else? Okay, I think we can wrap it.
Lori,
Sorry.
just one question. Can I redirect to Alexander? It's just something that I have been curious about, but I haven't had a chance to talk to him since he made a presentation on JSON a long time ago. Can we squeeze that in? Is that okay?
Yeah,
we're
sure.
okay on time. How do you feel, Alexander? You ready? He's on the call.
Sorry, you have to repeat. I was doing something. else? Ask me.
No, I was just asking for permission to redirect to you because you had given a call the doctor on HDF5 JSON before, but I wasn't clear on what the link between the representation there and HSDS was. If that was were those related, or were those completely separate in terms of the JSON representation of HDF5?
No, so HSDS kind of inherited a lot from HDF5 JSON. So I would say that everything that HSDS does is not against HDF5 JSON.
But they're not. But it's not used directly. HDF5 JSON is really something separate.
So yeah, so HDF5 JSON was created to represent content of one HDF5 file in JSON. And then when something like HSDS started to come to be, then the pieces of HDF5 JSON were used in HSDS whenever it was required to talk about some part of HDF5 file or something that then not file HDF5 content. Then we basically reused HDF5 JSON. So yes, I would say HDF5 JSON is in HSDS. It's just that the HSDS doesn't actually anymore create a file, and so all these pieces of information that used to go into a file are now, in many places, as the way HSDS stores HDF5 data.
I see. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I was just curious about that. I don't want to extend the call. Thanks, Dana, for the redirect. I appreciate
no
it.
worries. That's what we're here for.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about? Questions? Comments?
We'll have John Reedy up next week on August 8th. So he's our cloud person, and feel free to bring questions to him as well. All right, thank you, Dana.
One thing I will say this is, so before we go, so on the forum, right, the forum HDF group, there is this, it's under HDF5, and we have the what do you want to see in HDF5 2.0. I just passed it. Where is it?
It's there.
Here.
It's there.
Yeah. So if this is one of the things that I do want to start talking to people about at the hug, is that there are some things that I think that we should start thinking about changing. And I want to start getting feedback from people about how painful some of this stuff would be. So some of it is going to be API changes, and some of them may be difficult to wrap in some of our compatibility wrappers, although we'll try the best we can. So yeah, so if you have ideas about these things, you can take a look, right? And we'll have a presentation. We'll talk about kind of things that are on my laundry list of things to try to work on. This is one of the key things that I would like to get back from the community is how much can I change stuff before people yell at me? Because I don't want to make HDF5 difficult to use for anybody. I want to have people change their software as little as possible. But HDF5 is 25 years old, and some of the assumptions that we had in the past may not be great going forward. Or there's things that we realize that are not the best way of doing things. So there'll be discussions about this. So if you're interested in this, please show up and talk to us.
Perhaps we should maybe pin this topic on the HDF forum as well.
I thought I did have it pinned, and I don't know why it is not. Back up top here. Why it keeps banging me down to the bottom, but I thought this was pinned.
The option to pin is at the bottom. It may have, we updated the whole forum, so maybe stuff got unpinned in our update. Yeah.
Is there this little wrench here?
Yep.
Pin topic. There we go. Pin. Select the time frame forever. There we go. All right, it's good. Right, pin topic. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pinned before. Let's see here. So now let's go back to the forum and then go to HDF5. There we go. Great. Now it's pinned. Yeah.
Thanks, Alexander.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to throw an email around that I could send to people. I just don't know who. I can know of certain interested parties that I frequently communicate with, but I don't think I have another one of these yet before the hug. But anyway, yeah, show up and talk to us.
Yeah, and we'll probably send an email out to all registrants as well, Dana. So that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Maybe I'll try to throw like together a list and put it someplace people can see it. And
Okay.
create it on the wiki under HDF5, right? So the repo here, we're going to be using this wiki to have stuff about like kind of how to do stuff in the repository or discussions. We have discussions here. I'll put in discussions. That's why I put it under HDF5 or HDF4. So we'll create stuff in here. So I did this under HDF4. I was kind of baiting this just to see how it would go. And so I created this here, this proposed change, right? And then I put these things in here, label it with proposal. And then in here, I'll do the same thing. I'll create that same bit. And then over here in the wiki, you can like see this like change policy and stuff like that. Yeah, over and above, like, you know, we will always support the file formats going forward and backward. And we attempt to create compatibility wrappers for any API changes that we have, unless we can't do that for whatever reason. And but in terms of other stuff like semantic things or things where we can't or like build system stuff, things like that, we have a policy here where basically we'll try to make as much noise as possible by creating pin posts and creating discussion things, and we'll leave it there for at least 30 days before we change anything. And we'll try to seek feedback from anybody that we know cares about specific things. So yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.